Pythagorean theorem converse. So in this video, you're going to use the Pythagorean theorem to determine if a triangle is right. So converse kind of means the opposite. So far with the Pythagorean theorem, it's normally used to find a missing side length. But if we do the opposite and we have a triangle and we know all the side lengths, but we don't know if it has a 90-degree angle, we can then use the Pythagorean theorem to determine if it is a right triangle, meaning does it have that 90-degree angle. Okay, so I have a triangle here. I've got three sides labeled. It looks like there's probably a right angle here. But oftentimes in geometry, you'll see that it's not drawn to scale. So I may be tricking you here by just giving you a picture that looks like a right triangle. But if I were to actually build a right triangle with these measurements, it may not be a right triangle. Okay, because in geometry, sometimes we just draw a triangle and I label it as a representation. But that might not be a true drawing to what this triangle might actually look like if I make one side 12 inches, one side 16 inches, and one side 20 inches. So it's called not drawn to scale. So don't let the pictures trick you up here. It's all based on numbers. Okay, so that means our Pythagorean theorem, we have to fill in our three side lengths. Okay, so remember, C, our hypotenuse, is always the longest side. So we can't find that 90-degree angle to find C this time. We have to simply pick the longest side. And sometimes that might not be labeled correctly where you might think it would be on the picture. So the largest number always goes in for the hypotenuse. So in this case, that's 20. And then again, the legs don't matter which one's A, which one's B. So 12 squared plus 16 squared. Okay, and what I'm going to do now, if this is a right triangle here, this statement is true. So that's basically what I'm trying to figure out. Does 12 squared plus 16 squared equal 20 squared? That's our question. Okay, is this an actual true statement? If it is, it has to be a right triangle. So all we're going to do is calculate this and calculate the 20 squared to see if they actually equal each other or not. So I'm going to type in 12 squared plus 16 squared. That gives me 400. And then 20 squared is also 400. So is this true? Yes. So then is this a right triangle? Yes. This is a right triangle. So then if you want to add that in. And we know the 90 degrees has to be here because that would be opposite your longest side, which would then make that the hypotenuse. So let's look at another example together. Again, don't let the picture get in your way. 6 squared plus 7 squared is going to equal 9 squared. 9 is my longest side. So I'm not solving anything. I'm just simply calculating on the left side, calculating the right side. So 6 squared plus 7 squared is 85. Okay, and I know 9 squared is 81. You can use your calculator if you want to. So those are not equal, right? 85 does not equal 81, which means this isn't a right triangle. It's pretty close, but maybe this is like 92 degrees and not actually a perfect 90 degrees. Or maybe it's 85 degrees. Okay, but either way, it is not a right triangle. Right, so I want you to answer the question whether these are right triangles or not. So pause the video and complete these two problems. Okay, remember when you're doing your notes, you should always be drawing these pictures in, so when you look back at your notes, you have those visuals. So 16 is my longest side, so that's C. So bring my calculator back. 13 squared plus 8 squared. That's 233. 16 squared is 256. Those are not equal, so this is not a right triangle. Now on a test, I know some of you might be trying to do this all on your calculator and not writing this work down, but I would like to see your work just so I know you're not guessing yes or no. And 37 squared is 1,369 also. So this one is a right triangle. I'm going to do two more. Pause the video. Are these triangles right? Right, so 7 squared plus 9 squared is equal to 12 squared. I know 12 squared is 144, and then I've already done this one on my calculator, and it's 130. Those do not equal each other, so this cannot be a right triangle. Okay, 8 squared plus 6 squared is equal to 10 squared. This side becomes 100. This side becomes 100. Those are equal. So yes, this one is a right triangle. So now taking away that picture again, I have 3 measurements of a triangle. No image to look at, so nothing to kind of throw me off. I simply have to plug these in to my Pythagorean theorem. So remember, your longest side here is your hypotenuse. So that has to go in for C. So 17 squared is 289. 11 squared plus 15 squared is 346. So these do not equal each other. So is the triangle a right triangle? Nope. So why don't you do 2 of these on your own? Okay, so remember, longest side goes in for C. These end up being 400 after you type them into your calculator, and this is 484. Those do not equal each other, so that's not a right triangle. Okay, 8 squared plus 9 squared is equal to 13 squared. 13 is my larger side, so that's my hypotenuse. These simplify to be 145. 13 squared is 169. So these are also not a right triangle.